Adam here from the Walser Automotive Group. What I want to do today is take you on a test drive. So next to me here, I have a 2025 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness Edition. So we'll look at the interior, exterior, some of the other trim level specifics, then go for a spin around and see what it's like out on the road. Okay, so now we're behind the wheel of the 25 Crosstrek Wilderness. There's a lot of pretty cool stuff in here. The interior is noticeably cooler, especially if you're into the outdoors or any of those activities. This might be the one to check out. But before we even get going, I've got my phone with me as I always do, and I've got a wireless charging pad in this model, and I've got wireless Apple CarPlay as well as wireless Android Auto. So that makes it very safe and convenient when you're on the go. The screen is great, it's easy to use, and all the technology built into this vehicle, none of it is overcomplicated. If you don't like something, you can go in and turn it off. There's some stuff on the steering wheel, so we'll put it in drive and we'll cover some more of that stuff when we're on the go. Now, what's the big difference between the standard Crosstrek or maybe this Crosstrek Limited all the way up to the Wilderness? So they figured people like the outdoors. If you're looking at a Subaru, there's a good chance you're into mountain biking or maybe kayaking, they figure. So what they did is they beefed up the roof rack up above so you can actually put a roof tent up there and it can hold up to 700 pounds of static weight. So that easily puts a 2 or 3 person roof tent up above. And the other thing that's pretty cool is they tweaked a few things and they made the towing capacity from 1,500 up to 3,500 pounds. So if you got a tow behind, you got a little maybe pop up, you can certainly get that done and towed for the Crosstrek Wilderness. Now, as far as the overall difference, there's a little bit more ground clearance. So this has 9.3 inches of ground clearance. So that's going to be about a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more than the standard Crosstrek. And it is not terribly noticeable. It's not like you're jumping into a larger off-road SUV or anything like that. It just makes it a little bit better if you are maybe hitting the trail, heading to the campsite. It's going to be a little bit more convenient. And with the X mode, you also get a little bit more bite and traction. So what's cool about the Wilderness, it's a 17-inch blacked out wheel, and that's going to be on the Yokohama Geolander, a little bit more off-road focused tire. You do sacrifice a little bit of fuel economy anytime you go to a little bit more off-road focused tire, but at 29 mpg on the highway, that's still pretty good for a smaller kind of wagon SUV size. Now, a few other things on the exterior, this one gets those bronze accents. So they run from the front to the back of the vehicle, onto the roof rack, and then onto the interior as well. It definitely flows nicely, especially with this olive green color. It looks so cool. This is absolutely the color choice I would go with. The accents work nicely. The blacked out wheels give it that off-road sporty look. And you know what, it's really comfortable in here. It's the first day we've hit about 50 degrees this year, so there's a little bit of ice and snow kind of melting around. It just powers through the slush. You don't get a ton of road noise in here either. It's just a fun, easy to use little SUV. Now, this is powered by a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, and you know what? It's not the most horsepower in the world, but if you're not doing any drag racing, you'd rather have the better fuel economy, I think this is more than enough to get it done for day-to-day use. Now, moving more towards the inside, what I like about the hatch is just how easy and how much room you get back there. What's cool, there's a little cutout so you can actually now fit 2 Nalgene water bottles in the back if you don't want them flying around with your camping gear, and there is a spare tire if you lift up underneath. So if you're off on a trail, happen to pop a tire, it's not a mobility kit, they actually give you a real spare tire. Now, storage is also really nice back there. The rear seat backs do have an added protective cover on there, so it's actually a 60-40 split rear seat. So if you need a little bit more room, like I said, maybe for the camping gear, you're not going to tear up the back of the seats. You can pull the handle, fold those down, and it's quite an impressive amount of room. There's also a cargo cover back there, so if you're maybe stopped at a hotel for the night, want to pull that cover, people can't be peering in to see what you have in the back. Now, in the rear seats, I was surprised. Where I drive at 6'1", I still had headroom in the back. I had plenty of knee space back there as well. There's a USB and a USB-C plug. So if you got the kiddos back there, they can keep their devices charged up and they'll be happy when you're on the go. Now, the material inside, whether it's the front or back, is the StarTex material. So it's kind of like a mock leather of sorts, but it wears really nicely. Over the years, I've seen some, it holds up very well. If the kids are spilling fries back there or spilling food, you simply just wipe it off. It makes it really easy to keep clean. And like I said, it wears nicely as well. The driver's seat won't be torn up in a couple years. And if you're throwing some of your gear in the back, it is a nice way to help protect this material inside. Now these front seats are really comfortable. So this one's also going to be a power seat on my side. It's got lumbar in here, and it's going to be a heated seat for the driver and for the passenger. So when it gets a little chilly, that is definitely a great Minnesota or Midwest feature to have. Now the steering wheel is actually a leather wrap steering wheel, so that gets some of the stitching as well. And then there's a bunch of buttons on here. So the left side's kind of more your communication based stuff. You've got voice controls in here, so you can click that, ask the system to do something, or your volume controls over there. Then on the right side, that's going to be things like your adaptive cruise control, or you can change the drive mode between S and I. Gives you a little bit more sportiness. But like I said, with the X mode, that's probably the drive mode changes that you're going to make. You can go between snow and dirt, normal, or deep snow and mud. So that's going to kind of change the throttle mapping and a few other things to help you get the best possible bike traction given the situation you're in. So I know it's kind of a lot of information kind of quickly, but the big things to note, the Wilderness is about $1,100 more than just the standard Limited. So if you're into the outdoors, you want some of the cool accents, or maybe you want the off-road wheels and tires, I mean, those wheels and tires alone would probably cost you well over $1,100. So there's lots of cool equipment, and like I said, tons of technology and safety in here. Adaptive cruise control, so you can set 4, 3, 2, 1 car length distance ahead of you. This has Subaru's EyeSight technology, which is kind of a driver mitigation system, and as well there's things like blind spot monitoring and an awesome, very clear backup camera in here as well. So the price on this one also adds the sunroof. It's got the Harman Kardon sound system. So if you're an audiophile, you like your music when you're on your road trips, you're listening to podcasts buzzing around town, I think it's a pretty worthy upgrade. It definitely sounds a lot better from just the standard system. So this one's going to be a little bit over $38,000. So, but what's cool about that, it still is kind of undercutting a few other competitors. Whether you're looking at the Jeep Compass or maybe the Bronco Badlands, it's still a few bucks cheaper than both of those, and you're getting a lot of equipment for the money. Great fuel economy, I think cool style on the exterior, all this equipment, wireless Apple CarPlay, all the safety, the Harman Kardon sound system and the sunroof. I mean, there's a lot to like about these little Subaru Crosstreks. They're easy to drive, nothing's overcomplicated in here. That's one great thing about Subaru. You could throw someone the keys, they could hop in, easily just get in and go. And that's what makes it great for day-to-day use. Like I said, I think if you're in the market, maybe comparing whether it's Jeep, Chevy, Honda, Toyota, I like the ride and drive of these. The steering is really responsive and easy, but it's not too heavy. They look cool on the outside as well, which I definitely think gets some points there. So if you're in the market, get out, take one for a spin, and see what you think. Now that was just a quick look and drive at the 2025 Subaru Crosstrek. Now if you have any other questions or you'd like to schedule a test drive, you can visit us online at walser.com or stop by anytime. We'd be more than happy to help. Thanks again for watching.